So you've seen my first video on solving basic trigonometry problems and you'd like to see how to solve trigonometry word problems. Watch this video and I'll explain. So first, a very quick reminder on the SOH-CAH-TOA pyramids. These are super important. Now let's read our first example. The Coast Guard is looking down from a cliff 78 meters high through a telescope to a boat out at sea. The angle of depression is 26.3 degrees and the telescope is 1.7 meters high. How far out is the boat? Okay, so the first thing we have to do is draw a quick sketch using the information given to us in the question. So we have a man standing on a cliff 78 meters high. He's looking through a telescope which is 1.7 meters high. So that means this total difference here would be 78 plus 1.7. Now the question tells us that the man is looking at the boat through the telescope, and it gives us one very important piece of information. It says the angle of depression is 26.3 degrees. So if we imagine the telescope is looking straight forward, then if it had an angle of depression, it means it would turn downwards by 26.3 degrees. I think depression means feeling sad, means the angle is going downwards. A question can come up saying the angle of elevation. That means that the 26.3 degrees would be upwards. So the last part of information is how far out is the boat? That means that we need to look for this distance, the distance between the cliff and the boat. Okay, so we've got all the information we can from the question. And now we need to try and find a triangle, in particular a right angle triangle. And we can see that this is the triangle. Notice that the angle that we have is outside of our triangle, but we can easily work out the angle inside our triangle. All we need to do is take away 90 from 26.3. So we have our angle, we have the adjacent side being the cliff, and we need to work out the opposite being the distance between the cliff and the boat. So we want a formula that includes O and A. If we look at our pyramids, we see that it's the tan one. This includes O and A. So if I put my finger on the O, we will see that the opposite equals the tan of the angle times the adjacent. So in this case, O equals tan of 63.7 times 97.7. The distance equals 161. Okay, let's look at another example. An aircraft is climbing at a consistent angle of 29.8 degrees to the ground for a distance of 1.8 kilometers through the air. What is the equivalent distance along the ground? Again, we'll try and make a picture with the information provided. So we have an aircraft and it's climbing at a degree of 29.8 degrees. So this is just a straight line going upwards with a degree of 29.8. It travels along this angle for 1.8 kilometers, so this distance is 1.8. Now the question is asking us for the equivalent distance along the ground. It must be this distance here. Now that we have our sketch, let's try and see the right angle triangle. Here we have the angle 29.8 and we have the hypotenuse 1.8 kilometers. But we're looking for this side here, which is the adjacent side. So we look at our pyramids and we say, okay, which formula includes A and H? It must be the cos one. So if I put my finger on A, we'll see that A equals cos of the angle times H. So in this case, A equals cos of 29.8 times 1.8. And if I put this in my calculator, I'll get that the adjacent side is 1.6. Now, this might seem a bit small, but if you can see that the hypotenuse is 1.8, it must be that the other side, the adjacent or the opposite, has to be less than this. So 1.6 seems about right here. So just a few pointers before you start your own examples. Make sure you draw a quick sketch from the information provided in the question. Then try and identify a right angle triangle. From there, it's just a basic trigonometry problem. Some words you need to watch out for is when it says angle of depression and angle of elevation. Angle of depression would be from the horizontal down, and angle of elevation would be from the horizontal up. Well, there you have it, how to solve trigonometry word problems. Watch my next video where I'll be looking at the higher topic of the sine rule. And as a final challenge, I'll give you a question and comment below with your answers.